What's up, everybody? It's Keefy, and you're watching Ghost Cult Magazine's Album of the Year Countdown, #1 edition. That's right. If you're listening to this at the podcast, or you're watching us on YouTube, or you're watching us on a podcast, we deeply appreciate all the support for our countdown, 75-1, as voted on by the global staff at ghostcultmag.com, now in our 11th year. Thanks for being here. We're going to welcome in our guest host, Tim Ledin, a ghost cultist and Twitch streamer, in just a second. But once again, I want to get through the minutiae of the housekeeping for you. The staff voted on over 280 albums. We reviewed 606 albums this year, and maybe a few more before the end of the year is out. But holy cow, what a year we've had. I'm super proud to work with each and every person on the Ghost Cult staff. Shout out to Steve Tovey, the senior editor based in the UK, who manages the entire writing staff for reviews. And thanks to my partner and co-owner of ghostcultmag.com, Omar, Cordy, for all the support all year. If you've listened to our podcast and you watched the video series, you know we've counted all the way down to #1, and here we are finally with the #1 album of the year. Even Tim, who's coming on to join us, doesn't know what album it is, but it's an album he reviewed, which is why we chose him. Let's bring Tim on and count down #1.
Well, howdy.
Tim Ledin, welcome. What's up, brother?
Same old. How about yourself? How's the Gold Coast looking?
The Gold Coast is not looking too gold, but it's okay. We're keeping it 100. It's not as bad as it looks on TV, but it definitely could be better. When they clean up the whole city for like a visit from dignitaries and presidents, it kind of makes you feel bad. Actually, worse than it was before, because the fact that they could clean it up in like a few days for 20 square blocks of the city makes you feel bad. Just makes you feel like, oh, they could do this for real if they wanted to, but they don't want to. So what are you gonna do? Not to get political as we count down to the #1 album of the year as voted on by the Ghost Cult staff. Tim, first of all, man, thank you for a stellar year of your personal reviews. I speak on behalf of Steve and everybody. You've been with us almost the longest, and I know you over 10 years as a friend, so I really appreciate you. Back to my high times living in Boston when we first met. And look at how far we've come. Look at where we are today. It's crazy. We're still alive. We're still listening to heavy music, and we're still got a brotherhood.
For real, yeah. No, it's been a ride. I've really enjoyed doing this. I mean, obviously, if I didn't enjoy doing it, I wouldn't be. So thanks for the continuous opportunity.
Right on. So I told the watching audience and listening audience on our podcast right before this that you don't know what the #1 album is. Normally, I give everybody their list, their segment of the list, and we answer questions offline and prepare. But I was like, you know what? Tim is a Twitch streamer and has an awesome time reacting to things. So we're gonna get Tim's real, authentic reaction to the #1 album of the year, because I think it's going to be a surprise. And to narrow it down, just because I'm that kind of guy, I'm a jerk, it's an album you reviewed. So that's that's part of the reason you were chosen. But we're going to start doing this a little more to promote our shows a little more. We're going to start doing some more podcast stuff with our team in 2024. I'm looking forward to adding more podcast streams monthly and bringing in staff and getting their POV, because people don't want to hear from me all the time. They hear my voice all the time. So let's bring in some new voices and some new blood and get people to really know and appreciate and respect the staff we have. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
So hopefully you'll come back and join us again, and we'll talk some more stuff beside this album. So here we go. I don't have a drum roll or anything or a beer pour to celebrate with, but the #1 album of the year for ghostcultmag.com, as voted on by our staff, is Braid's Black Braid 2.
Let's fucking go. I had a good feeling it was, because I knew it was the album of the month at the time. But that's fucking awesome. It honestly, John came out of left field last year with his first release and blew me away. And I just remember driving home. I'm sorry, from a Red Sox game with my mom, and she tries to listen to the music that we listen to, and she usually just laughs at like Swashbuckle because it's pirate metal, as she calls it, And there's a Black Braid song on, and I'm like, I don't think I know this one. Did he drop an EP or something? And then Jose on Sirius XM afterwards was saying like, oh yeah, that's the new track coming out from our man Black Braid, and this new album coming out this summer. And I was like, what the fuck? Another album already? I was pretty hyped for it, and I was worried that it was, I don't want to say worried, but I felt like I was internally overhyping it, and it it reached those expectations for me personally. So I listen to it at least once a week since it's dropped, if not more.
Right on. I second that emotion. The hype is legitimate, and the hype is really from fans and the community. Great Jose impersonation, by the way. I know I met Jose a few times. He's really cool and really nice. And I think people that shit on him just don't appreciate him. They don't get why he's so enthusiastic and so super, pumped up for metal. And it's genuine. It's real. He's always been that way. But
Yeah.
also about Black Braid, I think the hype is legitimate. The first album did come out of nowhere. He really, he'd been kind of like been in other bands in his scene in upstate New York, but upstate New York is not New York City. It's not Austin. It's not Chicago. So it's not or it's not Portland. It's not one of these hotbeds for music. Although upstate New York is well known for hardcore
Right.
and some brutal death metal too. So Black Braid 1 was a revelation, and I was also surprised that Black Braid 2 came so quickly on its heels, but John, and as an artist, he hasn't toured a lot. This year was the most touring he's ever done, and frankly, he did not enjoy it if you followed him closely. And we interviewed him here on the channel, and I'll link it in the description, along with our Album of the Year poll, minutiae, and links and everything, so everybody can follow and read, catch up, and read back if you missed. And you're just watching this because you're like to read to the last page of a book. Choose your own adventure, turn to page 159. And he really, he's on this mission, on this journey artistically that I think is wonderful. I put him right, American black metal, let's face it, we have penis envy and Venus envy for the rest of the world. American black metal has some fine acts, but really we're just still chasing the tail of the first and second wave European, Scandinavian black metal bands historically. So we have a few great ones. And Black Braid got to tour with Wolves in the Throne Room, who has been one of the pinnacle acts for 10 years, but even they are not traditional sounding Scandi black metal. They incorporate their own things, just like Black Braid does. And so without harping on, politics or all the cultural impacts, because I think, again, John wants the music to stand for itself. Sagasawa, I know how to say his name. I practice that a lot. So, he is very conscious of, he doesn't talk a lot about, too much about the art. We prodded him to try to talk about it a little. So a couple of things I wanted to wrap with you about this. First of all, amazing records, certainly worthy. I'm a little surprised because historically, as you open up a poll, our staff is so diverse taste-wise, and we cover such a range of things that when you open up something like a poll to the whole staff, you generally get the most popular bands as the number one band of the year. So our last three winners were Machine Head, Trivium, and Deftones. And we've had other winners like Gojira, Mastodon, Enslaved, across our history, Carcass, Behemoth. So, like, Black Braid is none of those bands, but at the same time, they're so worthy. And I think that's the thing I wanted to hit on with you. What do you think about their worthiness in terms of the hierarchy of American black metal bands? There's many sort of little flavors and subgenres, but they really fill their own space.
Oh, I think it's huge because I think at the foundation, when you listen to, I mean, both the records, but we'll just stick on Black Braid too. He really does a good job of building the foundation off of those first couple generations of the Scandinavian black metal. So anyone that's considered a black metal fan at the core can pick that up and go, huh, okay, I get this. But then he's able to say, let me add on top of this and make it my own. And it's something that, like, that Wolves in the Throne Room was able to do. Panopticon was able to do things that make it specific not only to the US but the region they live in. And it really, not to make its own new subgenre of black metal, so to speak, but it's another, like, we'll say dialect for lack of a better term. And I think Black Braids is certainly going to be one that stands out, and I don't see it being duplicated very well, if at all even attempted. But do we see other indigenous people that are also into the metal scene kicking into more black metal, that type of thing? Or, I mean, we know we have Testament. They've been around for, I mean, how long now? And it's nothing. I wouldn't say it's anything it's new for indigenous folk to get into the heavy metal scene, or hardcore for that matter. But it's, in terms of black metal, getting that extreme with it and being able to say, I grew up on this, I love this, and I want to make something my own with putting my own little icing on the cake. I was really excited to hear that this was number one. Like I knew it was month of the year. I'm sorry, album of the year, album of the month and the year, months and years. Um, but I think at the end of it, like what you were kind of harping at, is these big A-list bands like your Behemoths, your Ghost, your Enslaves. You kind of anticipate that because those are the big titles. Those are the ones that people will listen to first on new album, new music Fridays. But it's so well deserved. This project I don't think is going to end anytime soon. At least I hope not. And I see a lot of further releases coming out, and it's just going to get bigger at this point.
Right. He definitely got his teeth kicked in touring and some, other stuff overseas I don't want to mention and get into right now because it's unfair to them as an artist. But it's in the past. But it was it's definitely a struggle going from playing regionally or small tours to doing the whole world. So it's definitely challenging. I'm not sure he enjoyed it. I'll just throw that out there. And I'm okay if it's not a thing for him to tour because I feel like he can sustain the project by just being true to himself and making music. And I do see this in a way, maybe not a one-to-one with a Wardruna and a Heilung, but I think the prevalence and the acceptance and the huge blow up and glow up those two bands have gotten the last couple of years help a band like Black Braid break through a little bit, break that glass ceiling of I only listen to traditional shit, and a band like Enslaved that is far from their Viking metal roots, but still a little bit in there, and obviously just a weird progressive black metal band now. They still also paved that road, paved that road, putting in, personal references and cultural references into their music. So I think this is tremendous. I think it's tremendous for us. It kind of brings Ghost Cult back to our roots a little bit because even before you and I were part of Ghost Cult started right before I came in and you came with me from the good old Metal Army America, now long gone. And before that, you were at another thing and I was at other things. But the really true roots of Ghost Cult as the founding of Ghost Cult was really to cover underground and avant-garde artists, much like Black Braid. That would have been easily a issue 1 band if they were out in 2012. So I think it's really refreshing that the underground is having a big year. And actually, of those top tier former winners, the only band that had an album out this year that was a former album of the year winner for Ghost Cult was Enslaved. And it's I don't want to spoil the rest of the list. If you're watching this, hopefully you have watched the countdown or listened to the podcast and seen the website post and seen the list. But Tim has not seen the list as of this recording, so it's going to be a treat for him to see the rest. Tim's getting in reverse order. Everybody else got their little segment of the countdown as we went, because I'm like a movie director in Hollywood. You only get the red pages with everything else redacted. But that's how we are secretive and paranoid as fuck here. But what a tremendous year for metal. Before I let you go, let me hear about some of your favorite other albums this year beside Black Braid.
Oh, thank God. I think I have this in a notepad because otherwise I'm going to have to make me dig through my Yahoo email that I sent to Steve. So it's funny, like we've had conversations before and you've probably seen my album of the year list years and years ago. I've never had so many hardcore bands and so many black metal bands be in a countdown. For instance, Jesus Piece, that new album So Unknown, is I loved the first record, but this one just felt like another step forward musically, lyrically, everything. It just felt like the next right step, and it was fantastic. We all know how much I love Harm's Way. I don't need to really harp on that much. I will say I was worried with the first single that came off the new Pupil Slicer album, Blossom, and I was like, oh, are they going super soft on this album? Like, oh, I don't know, like we'll see how it goes. And then I got the whole thing in front of me and I was like, oh no, this album fucking rules, like we're good. And then it goes without saying, getting Fuming Mouth back this year with new material and I got to see them live at the New England Metal and Hardcore Festival, which is cool to see that come back as well. It's just everything. And there's a bunch of other ones. I could sit here and talk all day about my list. But I will say big shout out to Dreamwell down in Rhode Island. They're definitely still under the radar. If you like Deaf Heaven, if you like Deftones, if you like some really abrasive music with emotions outside of just anger and I want to murder things, they're your band. Go check them out. In My Saddest Dreams, I'm Beside You. Just it pulled me in immediately on the first try, and I listened to it multiple times a week.
Definitely a killer record from Dreamwell, and props to any band from Rhode Island right now with the dumbness over at Fet Music Hall or Feet Music Hall, whatever it is. The security idiocy going on there. But it's kind of funny. What year are we in that Milwaukee Metal Fest, New England Metal at Hardcore came back? There's a lot of weird stuff going on, like what's old is new again. Tim and I definitely raised beers at a Fuming Mouth show when they were starting out. I'm pretty sure I got our mutual friend Jason Mejia kicked out of that show for letting him sip out of my beer. Somehow I didn't get thrown out, but he did, because I'm a dick and I'm corrupting the youth of America one riff and one beer at a time. But what are you going to do? What a tremendous year for heavy music. Our entire team knocked it out this year. Over 600 reviews, as I mentioned, by the end of December. And just insanity. I don't know anybody else that does this clip of reviews. Shout out to Steve again. Shout out to the whole team. Shout out to yourself. Is there anything off the top of your head you're looking most forward to next year as we're just finishing up this year?
I feel like I answered this. We had a poll in our Facebook group, our super secret Facebook group, and for some reason it's escaping me. I'm gonna have it. Let me pull something up. I know I have one. I put in the wrong year. I'm hysterical. I would say, what did I even vote for? Oh, duh. How could I be so stupid? The new Job for Cowboy album. My inner college student is so excited. I love this concept of how a good chunk of it is about this acquaintance of the band, we'll say, or a friend. I can't remember exactly what term it was. But they got so wrapped up in like psychedelic drugs that they created their own reality and got lost in it in their home. And I just think that while it's terrifying to think of from a human to human standpoint, but on an artistic view, it's going to come out something else. That band, before they took their long hiatus here, they had consistently been evolving in front of my eyes. And I used to see them 3-4 times a year. They were on every single bill that came through to the Palladium, occasionally in Boston. And I was like, I didn't even care who was playing. I needed to go see them again for the upteenth time. I think I got up to probably 10 times seeing them between the full length coming out, the first full length coming out, and then Sun Eater, Sun Eater was something else. That one lasted. That got a lot of playthroughs on my different music playing apps through the years. And it still does. It's an incredible record. But yeah, very much looking forward to the new JFAC album for sure. And everyone else should too.
Absolutely. I'm also looking forward to that record. Ghost Cult was the first website that broke the news that they were even coming back at all a year and a half ago. We were the first, actually. We had it first. I like to say that. There's a text thread that I have with friends of mine, and it's like, Ghost Cult had it first sometimes. Not every time, not all the time. It's not possible. I don't sleep, and we have other people helping with news now. Shout out to Paul McMillan. But what are you going to do? JFAC's going to be killer. Looking forward to new High on Fire, finally. Looking forward to some underground stuff like Today is the Day. I think we might get one of these new Jack hardcore bands might come right back with another record. So we might get a new, I don't know yet, but we might get a new Turnstile or a new, I wouldn't be surprised if Zulu went right back and made another record because they're very prolific as a group. So a lot of exciting stuff going on for 2024. Once again, man, just thanks for being part of my journey. Thanks for being part of the Ghost Cult journey in music journalism and being a great friend. I really appreciate you. I want to see you some more. Hopefully next year I'll get to Boston with a little more time in my pocket and I'll get to see you guys in person, you and the crew. You know who you are. And yeah, man, Black Braid 2, the #1 album of the year for Ghost Cult. It's almost an honor to have that band as #1. I'm so relieved that it could have been anything. Could have been any of these albums in the top 20, which Tim will soon learn about. Could have been any of those bands, and it would have been okay. You could throw a blanket over them, and I'm really glad that it's Black Braid.
Yeah, same. And thank you for having me on this journey. I only was doing this for a couple of years for fun for a friend of mine that I happened to met through a couple of mutuals. And I got to know you well before then, sitting on the barricade, my 6'3" frame, taking steel boots to the head. And I'm like, well, this guy seems to be nice. He keeps checking on me, in the photographer pit and shooting the shit afterwards, waiting for Michael Ackerfeld to come off the tour bus until some drunk lady yells at him. So lots of memories. And it's been an awesome friendship and an awesome time, writing for this site, this mag. So I'm not going anywhere either. So you're gonna have to fire me if you ever want to get rid of me.
Not gonna happen, my friend. Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye. But yeah, man, we have a great team, and you're part of that team. So I'm thankful for you. And for everybody that's been following along, if you made it this far in the show, you're a real one. Thank you very much for following our Album of the Year series for the 11th year in a row. Feel free to check on and go back and reference the other episodes, the videos, the podcast, the website posts, and give us a like or a subscribe if you enjoy our content. And if you don't, drop us a hateful comment. We publish most all of them. That's our whole thing, self-reference and self-awareness. I'm Keefy from ghostcultmag.com. Thank you, Tim. Thanks, everybody. Peace out.
See ya.